Hello, my fellow fallible humans. My name is Tanya McIntyre, and this is the Red Roof Recovery Show, a program to soften the path of recovery from substance and behavioral addictions. And it's not just for addictions, it's for life. I appreciate you spending the next few minutes here as I'm joined in conversation with my life partner, my best friend. I call him Sir Lancelot. My knight in shining armor has been with me for over 30 years. Much of that was lived experience through my drug and alcohol addictions, and he stuck with me. Lancelot, thank you. Lance brings perspective of a family member living with someone, not just through their addictions, but also living with someone in recovery. Because, my physical sobriety was just one step. Then my emotional sobriety is an ongoing journey for me. Lance shares his lived experience and empathy with family members whose loved ones are struggling with addictions. Effective communication tools can motivate your loved one to seek recovery sooner than later. We offer thoughtful conversation here about a variety of recovery topics. You're going to be hearing science-based approaches to build a life beyond addiction, a life that you will not need to escape from, because there are literally hundreds of tools that you can use to manage recovery in life. The key, one of my favorite acronyms, KEY, keep educating yourself until you find something that clicks for you. This is about you and your recovery. I'm sharing with you what has worked for me in my recovery, and I hope it inspires and motivates you or someone you love. On this episode of the Red Roof Recovery Show, we're talking about great expectations, setting yourself up for success in recovery. So, Lance, you had something to say about this earlier, which gave us the idea for the podcast topic.
Yes. I think through my experience of watching you go through your phases and other people during our work, there's an expectation that when you make the decision to go into a facility to aid your recovery, that once you've done your, in our case, 1 week, or your 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, that you're going to come out at the end of it cured. Now, that's a very interesting word to use in recovery, I think, cure. Because I think we both feel that there's no such thing as a cure for addictive behaviors.
I agree. And when my rehab experience happened in 2009, the only model of recovery available then was the 12-step recovery of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I often say AA saved my life, and something called SMART, self-management and recovery training, gave me my life back. Because when I was in AA 12-step meetings, AA and NA, for 8 years, I kept relapsing every year. But that was not the fault of the program. I think that was the fault of my expectations that by going into a 30-day rehab, I was going to come out and not have to do anything to maintain my sobriety. I thought I would be cured. I was kind of expecting that I would one day be able to have a glass of wine with dinner, or, have that snifter of brandy after a nice meal. Those romantic recollections that I wasn't ready to give up. So I think for sure there was definitely an expectation of a cure, that I wouldn't really have to do a lot to maintain my abstinence from drug and alcohol.
So this is one, as I say, as someone who is just an observer and doesn't really understand what people go through when they're battling, trying to get out of their addictive behaviors, is that there's this expectation that they're gonna go to, once they've made the decision that they need help, and they reach out and they set everything in place and they go into that, there's going to be this epiphany that it's a bit like you're going to go in, you're going to take your driving lessons, and you're going to pass your test at the end of it, and then you're going to go out and you're going to be a perfect driver. You can do anything you like. And as we know, with driving, once you pass your test, that's when you start to learn to drive. and it takes work. But it seems to me that a lot of people don't expect that when they emerge from the facility they have chosen, that there's work afterwards.
Yeah, I agree. There is an expectation around that for sure. I do see an evolution since my first rehab experience, though, that the industry seems to have, finally developed that idea that it's going to take more than just a recovery residential stay for you to be on the right path, to kind of set that infrastructure that you need, that foundation that you need. I always use the analogy of treating your mind like a garden, that you're creating this path of recovery that you want to keep as free of bumps as possible. So creating this smooth walk of recovery, a smooth path of recovery, that you do that by sowing good seeds and doing regular weeding, right? Treating your mind like a garden. Your garden is the mind that you are retraining to serve you in healthier ways. And we do that by sowing good seeds, by hanging around with good people, staying in good places, doing good things, people, places, and things, that we have to keep those as positive and aligned with our recovery as possible. And then the weeding is to avoid the people, places, and things that are going to take you toward your addictions. So I use that an analogy, metaphor, whatever it is, of treating your mind like a garden. So you are sowing and seeding this path of recovery so you have a smoother walk, because that's what it is. It's a path. It's a journey.
I understand that, but and as you say, the industry is evolving.
It is, with aftercare, because when I left, I'm sorry that I tend to go down these rabbit holes and not finish the thought. So yes, when I left my 30-day rehab experience, there was no aftercare program. You were basically told to go to 30 meetings in 30 days when you get out. And that was supposed to be the
aftercare,
the end all be all. Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for meetings. I love the peer support of 12-step meetings. If you can find good meetings, they're absolutely, I think, an integral part of recovery. They can be. For me, the relapsing happened when I got to step 4. And that's quite common, because step 4 in 12-step programs is that you have to do a fearless and searching moral inventory. Who wants to do that? Run away, run away. So that was my stickling point for many, many years, is trying to get through the 4th and 5th steps of 12-step programs. I kept relapsing because I didn't want to face it. So when I was introduced to SMART, self-management and recovery training, in 2018, and cognitive therapies resonated with me. That's why I'm so passionate about keep educating yourself. The key for me has been to keep looking, keep educating myself. I kept relapsing in 12-step programs. After 8 years, I was going to a lot of funerals, and I knew it was just going to be a matter of time before I didn't return from one of my relapses. And I went in search of a solution, something secular that I could bring to my community. And the pickings were slim when I was looking in 2018. A couple of things come on the radar for me. SMART, and that was in Mentor, Ohio, which is part of the reason why I chose SMART. The other one was LifeRing, and I'm involved with LifeRing as well. It had its founding in the early 2000s in Florida, and it made its way to British Columbia and Alberta. It seems to be very popular in the west coast of Canada and in parts of the United States now. But where we are in Ontario, it's taking a little longer to get here. So I am now a convener, a meeting convener with LifeRing as well. I believe that cognitive therapies can work. They don't work for everybody. They worked for me because it forced me to do the work that I was avoiding in 12-step programs. It forced me to ask the questions: what do you want? What are you doing about it? And how do you feel about what you're doing about it? That was a question that I never took time to really.
Well, this is my question, because obviously you made a decision in 2009 to go into rehab thinking that that was the be all and end all, and you'd come out and everything would be fine, and relapsed, and then went on the cycle of relapse, and finally found what was working for you. Now, we've established that the industry is evolving.
Yes.
Are the people, are the clients, are the participants within that who seek help, are they evolving as well?
Well, in my experience, I've managed to sustain my abstinence from drugs and alcohol for over 4 years now, and that's thanks to immersing myself in the work. I think when you stay engaged in the work of your recovery, because like I said, the physical part of my recovery was just the first step. Stopping the drugs and alcohol was just step one. And then I had to work on my emotional sobriety, and that's ongoing. As you know, living with me. You've now been with me abstinent from drugs and alcohol for over 4 years, and you know the challenges that you have living with me in my emotional sobriety, and how important it is for me to continue the work on that.
And I think this is why I wanted to do this episode, because my observations are with people who have made the decision to seek help is the expectation is that once they have finished their time in the facility, that they're good.
They're cured. Well, I get that question a lot, Lance, actually. People say, when I finish your program, will I be cured? And that's a tough one, because it depends on what cure means for you. I feel cured because, this has been a long journey. Mine started in 2009, and I've got lots of evidence about what doesn't work for me, because I had a lot of relapses in my background. And now that I have enjoyed over 4 years of continual sobriety, I'm confident that, yes, I can say, yes, I'm recovered. I've experienced a cure. That's not to say that I can get complacent with the work that I'm doing. I stay very engaged in my aftercare, my relapse prevention work. And it's a business for me now too, so it's a little easier for me to stay engaged in it. But for people expecting that they can come out of a rehab facility and not do anything except not drink, drug, whatever your addiction is, without staying engaged in something. Like I say, it doesn't take long. It takes a persistent willingness to exert consistent efforts to help yourself. It can take, for me, it's like 10, 15 minutes a day of doing something specific for my self-care, something specifically related to my recovery. And it keeps my path a lot smoother, for sure. Mm-hmm. But everybody's different.
Well, yeah, what I've observed is a lot of people think that when they're cured, at some point in the future, they'll be able to drink or do whatever moderately.
Oh, the dream of moderation. Yes, there are a lot of programs that promise moderation. I have never seen anybody successfully moderate an addiction. I would love to hear from somebody if you have. I will talk to you about that. There are lots of programs that promise an ability to moderate. I have yet to see it successful.
Yeah, and nor have I with my limited observation of things. But that is one of the expectations, that once you've done your course of your program, that you're going to come out and everything's going to be fine and you don't have to do anything else. And two, that sometime in the future, after you've been abstinent for X amount of time, you'll be able to become a social drinker or whatever. And like you, I've never seen it work.
What does work is the elements that you can take into your recovery journey. You decide that you're going to change and stay abstinent from your addiction. Then you make a plan, very important, and then act. Decide, plan, and act. And the actions are taking you toward where you say you want to be. So the plan is setting the goal. So you decide that you're going to make the change, you plan for it, you set the goal, and then you act. All your actions stay aligned with the path that you're on. And again, that treating your mind like a garden, sowing good seeds, and doing regular weeding. That seems to be the hard work for me, is just to keep treating my mind like a garden and talking to myself like I talk to my good friends.
Very good.
Thank you, sweetheart. I love your perspective from being a family member, living through my addictions, and now living with me through my recovery. I appreciate you. Mwah. Thank you. I love you. And I appreciate you for listening and watching wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much. And if you get something from our conversations, please send us a like and a subscription and a share with your friends. It means the world to us. You can sign up for recovery tips and tools on our website, redroofrecovery.com. May the force be with you. And remember, you are the force.